projects. You need to have a Windows machine of some kind. You might have a Windows laptop you can just use. And if that's true, you can skip both of these for this course because we're not doing anything dangerous. Although in general, by the way, for real forensic investigations, you should always use a special clean machine that's not connected to the internet, so it doesn't have any extraneous data on it. But for the projects we're doing here, it's okay. That's one, but in real forensic investigation, you always use a special machine to do forensic analysis, both to make sure that there's no other data on it, and also because forensic images are images collected from machines that were used in crime, and they often contain malware. So you can infect your machine or something, so you don't want to put them on your normal machine. But everything we're using in this class is harmless. So all you got to do is get a Windows machine, and F200 is your first forensic examination with Autopsy. So that's here. And so all you do is install Autopsy. You just go to a page where it shows you just download it and install it like anything else. And then you have an evidence file called f200.e01, and I'll show you how it works. I've already got this ready to go in my Windows machine here. This is a Mac, and I've loaded a Windows 11 virtual machine. So I've already installed Autopsy. It installs just like anything else. This is the tool we're going to use. Now you need that file, f200.e01, and I think I've already got it. Looks like I don't. All right, I got to get it. So let me get it from that page. Let's use Firefox. Okay, there we are. samsclass.info is good. Ah, yes. This is a problem with the Windows ARM version. See, it thinks it's May 16. It always gets the date wrong, and you have to restart it every time. This is, I'm using a Mac M1 with an ARM processor, so I had to get the special experimental version of Windows 11 to run on ARM, which is like a pre-release version that has bugs. And this is one of the bugs. It never resets the clock until you restart it. So I have to do that every time I use it, or it won't let me access web pages because it has the date wrong. There's always something. However, it runs pretty fast because it really is using the ARM processor correctly. All right, there's my Windows 11, and now the date is right. It's up to June, so now I should be able to open a web page. I don't care about this. Okay, there we are. CNET 121, projects, and F200 is here. And this particular evidence file is very small anyway, so it won't be hard. Yeah, here's Microsoft popping up garbage, getting in the way. All right, there comes the file. There it is. It's downloaded it. All right, just take a look in the folder. There it is, f200.e01, and it's only 178 kilobytes, a real small file, because it's just to get us started. All right, so you launch Autopsy, and you get used to how this thing works. This is your all-purpose forensic tool, free on Windows, nice and beautiful. And if you use Encase or FTK, it'll be like this, only more professional and much more expensive. You can pay like $60,000 or $100,000 for the enterprise versions of those tools. That's why corporations and police departments and the FBI have them, and the rest of us use Autopsy. So I'm going to make a new case. And so I give it a name, like F200, and it's going to put it in my documents folder, which is fine. So then I go next, and I go into case number. I'll just call it F200, and I don't need to fill in this examiner stuff. You would for a real case, but for this project, I'm not going to bother. This just creates a database to store the evidence that it will find, and it takes a few seconds to do that. Make it bigger. There we go. A couple errors appear, which are probably because I'm running this on a Windows ARM, but it turns out that the errors don't matter for what we're doing here. However, it is important to know that none of your tools are perfect and they all make mistakes. So if you find anything important, you should always verify it with a second tool. All right, it's still getting ready. Okay, now I'll generate a host name based on data source. That's fine. Now I'm going to get some data. Now let's go back to my instructions. Your data source, it's a disk image, and it's F200.E01. Okay, so it is a disk image. That's what this evidence is. And now I have to go find the file. The data source is in my downloads folder. And it's this F200. By the way, the E01 is the expert witness format, which is also used by NCASE, and it's the most common format for forensic evidence. So I go next. Now I can choose what kinds of analysis to do on this. And the more of these you check, the longer it will take. It can do all sorts of different analyses. Let's see what we want to do on this one. In the configure ingest file, just click next. So I'm not going to turn on any of these unusual ones. I think for this one, I might not need any of those. I'll try it without checking any of them. All right, and that's it. Now I can finish. And now this is what autopsy shows you. You now have evidence here. You can look at file types by extension, for example, and you'll see there are two images here. So here's something called flag 1. Here's something called doggy. If you click on one of these, it will show you the picture down there. There's the autopsy dog. And if you go to documents, you'll see there's a plain text document here that says hello.txt. You can click on the file, and then it shows you the contents of it here. This file just says hello world. And over here, you see the raw bytes in hexadecimal, which is why you're learning hexadecimal and binary. This is the raw representation of the data. So this is all it does. It finds the evidence and it presents it to you, sorted out in useful ways. So there's a flag. The hello just shows you hello, but of course the other one you saw was named flag, and that's where you're going to find the flag. So all you're going to do in this one is find 3 files and look at them. It's very simple. All it shows is you got autopsy installed and working. And we're going to do a lot more after this. So after you find the flag, you just turn it in Canvas, and that's it for this one. And in later cases, we're going to analyze a lot of different kinds of data. Here's data with images, here's network data, here's memory, then the registry, then Windows, then Android, then iPhones. That's what we're going to do in the rest of the class. And I'm going to take these off, not for this semester. And there's extra credit projects too you can do. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. And the first file, you're just looking at a little image. It just has 3 files in it just to make sure you got your system working. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Yes, and how to make this image, you make it with a tool called FTK Imager that can image a hard drive. And what I did was make a virtual machine and add a virtual hard drive that was really small, and then take an image of that to make this simple thing. Normally, you can take an image of a real hard drive in use, but it's typically big, like 500 gigabytes or a terabyte. So those images are really big and hard to send around. So in this class, we're using much smaller ones. All right, I'm going to stop this recording.